Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who have subscribed, I'd just like to say thank you very much. For those of you who are new to my channel, this is a channel where I like to share with you my recipes, techniques, a little tips, do some master classes, and today the video is all about bread making. So I'm just going to do a really simple bread which is made from spelt and a bit of strong white flour. Very simple, it just has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients. So let's get started. This 200 grams of strong flour. We will need 100 grams of 100% spelt flour. You could use the recipe and make the full 100% spelt flour. What I've actually realized is that using 100% of spelt flour, the dough is much more compact. You need more water into the dough. So I prefer to use 200 grams of strong white flour and 100 grams of spelt flour. All the recipes will actually be in the description below of all my recipes. So for those of you who don't have a pen to write it down or whatever the case may be, the recipe is in the description below, or the ingredients. You would also need 4 grams of fast-acting or fresh yeast. If you're using the fast-acting dry yeast, the bread will be preferred to be made the same day, but this recipe is the next day. 6 grams of salt and around 240 grams of water. That's in grams, not in milliliters. So what we're going to do first is we're going to mix all our ingredients together. I'd like to call this a no-knead dough. We're going to actually add in the yeast into the water. That way it gets dissolved into the water much easier. And we're just going to incorporate the water into the flour. We don't want to over mix it at this stage. We just want to hydrate the flour and let the gluten in the flour dissolve naturally. So here I've got actually lukewarm water for the time being. Let me get that in. We just add all of it in. This is the messy part here. So we start mixing in our flour. So I've been mixing for about a minute or so. You can see it's got quite a bit of liquid in there. Later on, we're going to leave this now to rest for about an hour or so, and we'll be back later on so I can show you what the dough looks like. We're just going to give it a couple of folds and then set it in the fridge overnight, and every 2 to 3 hours, 3 times, we will give it a fold. So what I'm going to actually do right now is I'm just going to cover it and leave it out here in the kitchen at the moment. And I've actually got a starter dough here going, so I will do a sourdough recipe next. For those of you who really love sourdoughs and like homemade breads. So this is actually a dough which, or a sourdough starter, which I had in the fridge. And I never took care of it a bit, so it died down. So to revitalize it, I started yesterday. So if you could see there's a black dot there. That's where it was yesterday. So I fed it this morning. It did rise this morning, but very little. At the moment, the smell is a bit vinegary, a bit yeasty going on. There are some bubbles going on right there at the moment. So I'm just revitalizing this. In about 6 days or so, it'll be ready to go. I'm actually feeding it every day with 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of water. Every alternate day I use spelt flour, which helps that fermentation process. And once I'm ready, we will make a sourdough together. So it's been about an hour or so since we started off on our dough. Let me show you what it actually looks like. So here we have it here. So it's got nice and sticky part to it. I've actually got some flour that's ready to go if I do need it. So what we're going to actually do is, so what I saying is we actually got some flour here, which I might need for extra, and a bit of water. So you're just going to wet our hands. That'll give us some, we're going to separate the dough away from the bowl. And what we're going to do is just stretch the dough. For those of you who are beginners in making these types of doughs, so these doughs, what bread makers call them, they work on percentages. So this is an 80% flour dough, which I've actually got a lot of people recommending or requesting this recipe. So I'm just stretching and folding, moving it away from the side. It's actually lovely. It's nice and relaxed. It's not sticking too much to my hands. And if it does stick, I'll just add a bit of water. For those of you who are beginners, as I was mentioning, and you want to adding a bit of flour into it. So the more flour you add, the more compact your crumb is going to be in the dough. And we actually want an open crumb in here. So as I was saying, bread makers, they actually work on percentages, because you can imagine they always work on such high levels of bread and high quantities. So they always mix in with percentages. So this is an 80%. You could go down to 60% if you're a beginner. So instead of 240 grams, you could use 180 grams of water. So it's always the percentage of water versus the percentage. So flour is 100% and the water would be the rest of the percentage. So 80%. Some sourdoughs go up to 90%. So this is the type of dough that we want. I'm just going to pick it up and let you have a look at it. So we're going to just treat it gently, fold it in. So we got a nice window pane effect starting to come up there. So we're going to do this about 3 more times. I'm back. It's been roughly around 3 hours or so. So I've given this a fold every hour, and that's how it's grown double in size. So I think this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it and get it directly into our floured bowl here. So what I'm just using is a 1 liter bowl with a muslin cloth just pushed inside. I'm going to dust and flour that nicely. Just make sure that's really floured well. What I like to say while I'm still here is, if you see how my sourdough starter has risen by almost half and come down by half, so that's a good sign. So I was ready to feed for tomorrow. So I'm just going to dust my surface, a clean work surface, and we're going to work from there. You just want to break away the dough and pull it aside from the bowl, not to break out any of the lovely bubbles that we have. It's lovely, this dough. Smell is amazing. So I just want to get it onto the counter. So if you can see, it has lovely bubbles. So I'm not going to put it into the dish like I mentioned earlier. So just want to spread it out slightly, nicely flour our hands. So try not to break in any of the bubbles. So what we're going to do here is a sort of a book fold. Over there, yeah, stretch it there, and then this part forward and over. So everybody folds their bread differently. So I'm going to give it just one more fold. Over there. There. It's quite a sticky dough, this. So for those of you just want to tuck it in nicely. So it's nice and folded, as you can see there. And what we want to do is the part that we're going to cook over, as you can see, we just want to pinch it here. Pinch it over. And we're going to give it one last fold. That's going to keep all the air inside. Nice and tight, slightly smaller. And the side that we're going to cook, we're going to put it over there. And then lightly dust it. And we're ready to go into the fridge. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been about 10 hours or so. And our bread is nice and springy. It's got spring to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to flour our tabletop and turn it out. What I want to do is we have two options. I can either use a Dutch oven, which I'm sure most of you might not have or do have, but I don't have a Dutch oven, so I'm going to show you a technique how to use a Pyrex and a bowl. If the bread doesn't fit in the pan that I have, then I'm just going to leave it without the lid on top. It'll give us the same sort of effect. So what I'm going to do is just going to pick it up gently, and we're just going to shape it. We're going to flour our scraper. Yeah. And bring it closer to us. Pushing in. Yeah, from all the sides. So to give it a bit round shape. Just to make it smaller to fit in the Pyrex bowl. You'll see what I'm talking about when I get it out. So it's been in the oven now, the Pyrex bowl, it's been preheating. You just want to give it a dust nicely on top of flour. Bread is lovely. So I'm just getting out the pan from the oven, as well as the Pyrex bowl. So the Pyrex bowl we're going to use as a lid, and it's going to create steam and build up steam into the bread. So what I want to do is start off with my knife to give it a nice cut so it opens up perfectly. Just want to get that in. Start there. So that was just the skin on the top, that's why it just went down like that. So we're going to get it into the oven. And let's see how that goes. Oh, we need to flour our tray, and we get it in the bowl, the pan, and not to burn ourselves, we want to get the Pyrex bowl on the top. But before that, I'm going to just give it a spray of water so it helps to the steam in there. That's just a little makeshift thing I have, a sprayer. Okay, so it's 15 minutes later. What we want to do now is remove the cover of the Pyrex dish. So this is the part where you need to be really careful, because it's at 270 degrees in the oven. It's going to be very hot in there. So that's our bread, lovely and risen. Nice crust to it so far. And now we want to stick it back into the oven just to finish off. Okay, here we have it, ladies. The final results, ladies and gentlemen. And that's we have our bread. So I lowered the temperature when we brought it out. When I brought it out the first time. And if you listen, there's a lovely crust on it. Just knock it at the bottom. Nice and hollow. And leave it on a wire rack to cool until it's ready to cut and serve. So if you like a crusty loaf and small enough for someone to make, you could increase the percentage of flour as well. So we'll cut it up later and we'll show you how it looks. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then comment in the comment box below, or if you have any suggestions, or if you'd like to see something new, just let me know and I'll get right on it. And if you try this bread, you're gonna love it, trust me. Okay, so here we are, moment of truth, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that sounds lovely. It's been about 20 minutes or so since I've cooked it. We have a lovely crust and a beautiful crumb. So I would like the crumb to have been a bit more open, but it's okay. It looks lovely, the bread. I'm sure it's going to be amazing.